How you doing, Tracy?
Oh my gosh. Well, when I tell you what, I'm doing well. Happy St. Patty's Day.
Ah, no, happy St. Patrick's Day. This is green. I'm colorblind, Hey,
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna show your pillow. You're gonna show your
hey, there's
pillow.
there, there's there's the pillow right there. You see the green?
Well, that was a big thing in our household when I was a kid. You don't get caught with with no green at any time during the day. Otherwise you get pinched.
It happened.
It
So
hurt.
guess what I'm doing? I'm in here doing, studying, doing something, and I just hear the rumble, and then the girl Jazz jumps in the office. Wulwyn's behind her, like, I got. Luckily, I had my green robe on, so I had my robe over my shirt because it was kind of chilly. I had my robe on, and then came and looked at me like, oh snap! It's like, or else I would have gotten pinched.
You're gonna sneak up on you. Yeah, my daughter's in that phase, that early adolescent phase where they sleep a lot.
Mhm.
And so we're pretty good now, but when she was younger, oh boy, you better wear PJs with green on them
Oh
because
my
she would
goodness!
be on
Oh
you
my
first
goodness!
thing in the morning.
My goodness! Oh my
It's fun.
goodness!
It's
Well, happy
fun.
St. Patty's Day to all of you out there. I hope you are doing well.
Being green.
I know. Stay
Be green.
green. Stay green. Not envy green, envious green, but stay green.
That's
Good
right.
green, like the seeds that we planted last week. Be green. Hey, Tracy, what's going on in that beautiful mind of yours today?
Oh, well, it's funny. I mean, you mentioned green. It does, I guess it's true of everything. It's like green can be seen as in a negative and can be seen in a positive. And this last week has been it's had some challenges, but it was funny because I was talking to my daughter crawled in bed with me the other morning. We were both up like kind of early.
Mhm.
And I don't know where it came from, but I just started telling her stories about when this particular time was when I used to be a dorm parent. So my previous career was as an educator, and this was my first education or educating gig. Was at this private boarding school in Massachusetts, and I was actually a dorm parent. So I lived in the top floor of the girls' dorm. So I was with
Mm,
the oldest girls,
gotcha.
14, 15-year-old girls. There were like 18 of them on my floor. I wasn't the only dorm parent, thank God, because to be a one parent to like 18, 15-year-old
Ooh,
girls, like whoo, like,
ooh.
but some, as you can imagine, some really funny things happened in it was like 3 or 4 years that I was there.
Uh-huh.
And so I just got to talking to her about the time that the bat got loose in my apartment, because
Uh-huh.
I had an apartment at the end of the hall, and this bat got stuck in my the chimney in
Yeah.
my apartment living room and
Yeah.
somehow got through, and
Correct.
it decided it wanted to let loose just at the same time as we were having a fire alarm going off. And so everybody is kind of like trying to get there. Then those fire alarms are so darn loud,
Uh-huh.
and trying to gather their stuff and get in line. And we had this whole protocol, and I go to open my apartment and to walk out, and this bat at the same time comes flying behind me into the dorm hallway. All the girls start screaming, and oh yeah, that was fun. So I don't know what triggered the stories, but how sometimes you just get in this place of memory lane. Like my daughter will ask me all the time, tell me stories about when you were growing up. And I'm
Mm,
like, I got nothing. And
mm.
for some reason, I was just in past
Wow.
tense, and
Wow.
so we shared all these stories, and it was a lot of fun. And but the reason why I thought about this when you asked the question is, as we were, she said to me after I was telling her a number of things, she's like, God, Mom, you really went through some crazy stuff in your life. And I said, yeah. And I said, what's funny, hon, is that I look back on these times now and they make for some pretty outstanding stories, but that's when I grew the most, is when these challenging times were happening.
Yeah.
It's like on one side, you're just really pressured and put through the ringer. Not necessarily the bat story. That wasn't all that
Mhm,
challenging. It was
mhm.
more funny. Um, but those were things in my life that just maybe that's why I was remembering them, because there's this time where I'm really supposed to go back and like kind of take stock of what's formed me,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm,
and why
mhm.
now I'm so good you know, challenging situations and tend to be that go-to person when somebody's having a difficult time or an emergency situation or whatever. And
Yeah.
it grows us, you know,
Mhm.
and so we're meant, I think we're meant to honor those times and share them.
Correct, correct. You know, I was talking to someone the other day. Oh yeah, I was talking to, I think it was Ed Dudley,
Mm.
and we were sharing stories, just stories, just stories. And I remember the story. So we went on a mission trip. There were three pastors, and I was the bellboy. I was just a guy. I'm a lay person, right? So there are two beds, two rooms in this apartment. So the head pastor goes and gets the master room. Like, that's what he does, right? It's his gig. He goes there. The three of us are there. There are two beds on the in the other room, and two twin beds. And but hey, this is supposed to be a church thing. So he who shares or he who offers. So everybody's quiet. The two pastors are quiet, looking like deer in the headlights. And I'm like, and I said, it's all right. I said, hey y'all go take the two. I'll hit the floor because we're moving to another apartment the next day that had beds for all. And I took the cushion from two chairs, put them on the ground, and they said, "Hey, Wulwyn, you can have this flat sheet. You can have this pillow from our bed." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." So I got in there, but what they didn't realize was that was comfortable for me. It was very comfortable for me because of a backstory. And when you brought that up, I'm thinking, this maybe today is the day of our backstories, right? And the backstory was what made that comfortable for me was because I had gone through, and just what you said, our stories or the things that we go through allows us to become become a balm for whomever who would need that to draw from, or we can, put the balm on them to soothe them so that it's better for them to go through what they're going through currently. So,
Mhm.
hey, y'all, everything you're going through, I'm talking to y'all listeners and us here, everything you're currently going through, if it's not so good, even if it's good, put it in your layers of what you would get in the future to assist someone who may need what you're going through, what your learnings are from this. So always introspect on where you are so that you can get the nugget from it, blow the shaft away so that those nuggets can be used in the future. But anyway, yeah, I am comfortable on it. And they were thinking, God, he took the cushion on the floor. But I remember during the war, when we went to my grandparents' house, the women took the beds. Every single bed that was in the room. My mom, my aunts, my cousins, they took the beds. The guys hit the floor. And the way we hit the floor, there was the rice bag and then the palm thatch, the leaves from the palm tree that when you cut them and rip the
Mhm.
sides off the stem, right, and you bundle it, kind of soft. So you put it in there, and you puff it up, puff it up, puff it up. When those leaves are kind of alive, even though they're dead, when they have flesh, they're spongy and nice.
Oh, wow.
But when they get dry, they become brittle in there. And you aren't going to cut leaves every single day to plug it in.
Mhm.
So I'm on the floor for 3 months. And one day I wake up and I get up and I look on my hip bone on the sides, on both sides. I'm like, what's that? About 2 inches in diameter. I just had a scar. I mean, a black scar just on
Wow.
my hip. And I said, oh, wow, what is that? And then something just told me to look on the other side. And when I looked on the other side, I saw the same thing. And I was like, but what, what? Those were my pressure points. I sleep on my side. Those are my pressure points. Hi, Lenora. How are you? At times we go through so we can help others who may go through something similar. Yes, Lenora Dawson Lassiter. Um, so, so Lenora, I'm on my side. I sleep on my side. So my, and then I looked on my shoulder, my shoulder area. Those scars were also there. So everywhere my pressure, then I looked on my heels, on my ankles rather, on my ankle, the side of my ankle, seam, side, those three sides, where those, it wasn't dollar on the ankle, a dollar on here, but it was a dollar on my waist, on my hip. And I said, it's from sleeping on the floor. Okay. I mean, perfect circle. So when I went and I laid on that floor that had two cushions for my shoulders, the pillow for my head and down to my waist, and the other one for my legs. And they thought that he's on the floor. I'm thinking, y'all just don't know. This feels so good. Oh yeah, if I had had this for 3 months during the war, this would have been heaven. Now I'm in heaven. So what does that tell me? You see this bra? Oh gosh, man.
You
This
and your
bra.
bra. I think you had like a similar shirt on last
I
time. I'm like,
had, you
what
see,
is
I got
that?
a couple of these sweaters and they're kind of big in here for
Itchy.
maybe. And then I have an undershirt that's really, come on, Lenora, how do I fix this, girl? Anyway, so when I, when I, when I, when I, where was I? The bra threw me off.
Oh, you were realizing that you were on the floor, but it was so much more comfortable than when you were in the war on the floor.
So perspective, my people, listen to this. Where you are in life, if there's a perspective change, there is always the option for a different perspective. There is always an option. Ask yourself, this thing that I can't stand it. How can I see this differently? How can I see this differently that can make me go through this? Not make you say that, oh, the knife in my back is great. No, 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 no. It's not that. Lenora says, don't wear it. Come on, Lenora.
Just don't. How do I deal with this
Keep
girl?
it?
Yeah, just don't wear it. That sounds
How
like
can
Lenora.
Lenora, how can I keep it? Oh no, stop. Anyway, let's stay focused, stay focused, stay focused. Lenora is a bad influence. Stop that. Stop that.
No, Lenora is an awesome influence.
I know.
Do you know Lenora?
No, I don't.
Oh gosh, you got to know
But
Lenora.
I know her
Lenora, you
now.
got to reach out to Wulwyn. Yeah, you guys need to know
But
each other.
here's the deal, right? And I close with this to punt back to you. The deal is we must have a perspective change in order to go through our learning processes to get those nuggets so that we can be able to be a solution for someone down the line.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I think that is really what, because the other day I woke up, I was like 4 a.m. and I thought it was my daughter calling out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, a lot of times she has a nightmare and she rarely talks in her sleep, but I thought, oh, she had a nightmare. So I was going to go up and just check on her because it was like she screamed out. Well, I go up there and she's like, Mom, what? I'm like, did you just have a nightmare? She's like, no, I was asleep. Turns out it had not been her. It had been my husband.
Okay.
Who was in the guest room because he hasn't been feeling well. So he, I like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to wake you up. And so I go down there and I'm like, he's, get to the bottom of the stairs. He's like, oh, that was me.
Mm-hmm.
He was having a nightmare. And it was very interesting because, he's like, he was telling me kind of what it was about. And it was a lot of what we're talking about. It's like going back in history. It's like, I don't know why I was remembering these times, these, again, in his case, it was a really challenging thing that had happened. And so I do believe that we're meant to go back and visit these times, whether it be to share parts of us, like I did with my daughter, and just, this is how she gets to know me and how I was, kind of became who I am. Yeah. And also, obviously, there's always learning opportunities and teaching opportunities when we can share our stories. But I think also just for us as a look back on what did make me me. Sometimes, when I'm talking to clients and we're trying to determine their zone of brilliance, And it's something that they haven't thought about. They, it's so easy for them that they don't even think it's valuable, much less brilliant, that being able to look through that lens of, how do I do what I do?
Mm.
I know that was the first time when somebody asked me how I read language patterns. And they're like, how do you know this? I'm like, well, you're telling me it's coming through your language. And they're like, how do you do that? I'm like, oh, let me stop and think about that. How do I do that? Because I've always just been doing it and I haven't thought about that. And we all have those things.
Correct.
And I do believe we're being more and more challenged. I was talking to a client this morning and the conversation was about being unlimited.
Mm.
And he said, so many of my limiting beliefs have been coming up in the last 2 weeks. And I said, so what is that telling you? And he's like, well, it's telling me where I'm holding myself back because I'm still thinking in this limited way. I said, well, and that is to your point about perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I said, that's one perspective. But another one is that how conditioned we've been to be limited.
Yeah.
I mean, even, the whole point of my book Looking In is that what limits us is when we look out. Right? Because when we look out into the world or we rely on the outside world for our answers, and he and I just happen to be talking about, what are they called? Personality assessments. And he had done a personality assessment and he was like, oh, it was very illuminating. And he said, but it basically proved what you and I have been talking about all along. And I said, and why do you feel we need that proof from the outside world? He says, it's so weird. I became aware that suddenly I was owning it because it was proven to me through this assessment, even though I've known it all along. I said, that is a very good piece of awareness. Because how many times do we limit ourselves by saying, oh, I can't believe that about myself or the situation or what I feel I'm meant to do or where I'm meant to go until I have proof or until I have some sort of validation that's external to me, right? And until I get that degree, right? Or the outside world tells me the stamp of approval is on that. Now I can do that. When I've been maybe, internally feeling that I was being pulled in that direction or capable of doing that all along. But I have to wait for that stamp. I can't tell you how many times I've been in conversations with people and they have natural skill sets and they're like, but I don't have a degree in that. Like, so
I can't.
Right? How many times do we limit ourselves? And, and people will say, oh, but, I don't want a doctor operating on me who hasn't gone through med school. Like somebody's going to just be like, oh, I want to operate. I think we need to step back and really look at what I'm really saying here. What I'm saying is that, I'm not talking about technical skills. I'm talking about innate traits, right? And as we hone those innate traits, they will tell us who we are and how we are and why we are, right? That's where we tend to look for validation. Our learned and earned skills, like going to, medical school to learn how to operate on people, that's a technical skill that we do need to learn. I'm talking about those things we're being called to that have to do with our very selves, who we came to be, how we came to be, and why we came to be, right? The mission we're on, the purpose we have. That is not in our learned and earned. That is not in the skills that we learn afterwards, right? Our zone of achievement, as it were. And I just, it was such an interesting, engaging conversation because he's like, wow, we really need to delve into this more because it's so, what you're saying right now is resonating so strongly in what I've kind of been carrying along for the last 2 weeks and just noticing in every little thing. And his question was really a good one. He said, what do I do? How do I start when I become aware of these limiting beliefs? How do I shift that? What tool or what strategy or what approach do I take? And I shared with him, I said, what I've been doing? I've been noticing, and this is how I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, but this is how I've been learning how to create this internally. And also what I've been writing about in the book is looking for those little flags within myself. One of them I mentioned is lately I've been noticing this on social media where certain people will post, hey, y'all, just so you know in advance, I'm going to be taking like 3 weeks off of social media. Don't wonder where I went. Don't worry about me, that kind of thing. because I think we get these little flags. I know with me, I was sharing with a girlfriend recently. I said, I just feel like March has been, I want to go into hermit mode. I just want to turn in. I said, the world seems so loud to me. Social media platforms seem so loud to me. Everything seems so loud. And she says, well, you're being called to learn how to access your inner gadgetry. And she's working on a book right now, which I won't divulge the working title because it's brilliant, and hopefully she'll keep it. But it's all about what we're talking about here. Is that if we think that any bit of technology we've ever created has a better capacity to tap into what we do with our inner gadgetry, we are sorely, sorely wrong on that.
Yeah.
We have inner gadgetry that's so much more capable of getting to the core of the truths, especially when it comes to ourselves, than any, like I said, any bit of technology, any app, any, anything, right? Any mechanism that's been created to access information. And yet we get so impressed when we have, oh, look at what that profile proved about me. I'm like, I look at those profiles about as clearly as I look at my astrological sign. I mean, it may give a little bit of general, feedback about who I am and how I am and why I am based on the stars and when I was born and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to make fun of anything here at all. But what I'm saying is that none of that stuff can tell me who I am as well as I can discover who I am if I learn to access that inner gadgetry. That is when we become unlimited. Anything we focus on that's external is by definition going to limit our thinking about it, limit our beliefs about it, limit our approach to things. Anything external is going to limit us. And so that's kind of where I've been the last 24 hours, is really finding more opportunities to vocalize that messaging, because I see this in a lot of people going head to head about beliefs when it comes to, you name it, vaccinate, don't vaccinate. The current administration is doing a good job. It's doing a terrible job. Like, I mean, go to war, don't go to war. Like, I mean, there's obviously always been a lot of polarity, but it's getting to these heightened places where we are becoming obviously uncomfortable, not just with one another, with ourselves. And to me, that's a sign, is that if we're trying so much to be right, like what I see is it's just a battle of ego. When somebody's like, no, you must do this. No, I don't believe in this, and it's just an ego battle. But as those egos clash, what it's really showing us is that we get nowhere when we approach anything through ego, but we also are so limited when we make it about what's outside. Everybody's focused on what the other person's not doing. I'm like, why don't you focus more on what you are doing and what you do believe?
Yeah.
Right. And we hear this all the time, but in practice, we're realizing in the day-to-day how bad we are at it, how bad we are at honoring someone who believes something completely opposite, right? That they decide, let's say they decide they want to, get vaccinated, and that is the thing to do, and that everybody in the world needs to get vaccinated for us all to be safe. But then you've got another person that goes, have you done the research on this? I mean, really done the research, not the stuff they're telling you and showing you, but behind the scenes and all of that, because what I've learned is totally different, right? And where can we actually look at that person and say, you know what, that's your truth, and I completely honor you living by your truth. And this is my truth. And I'd like to believe I could live in a world where I still get to make the choice of living by my truth. Where do we find that in between? Because the one side says, your decisions affect me. And the other side says, well, your decisions affect me. So how do we do that? We are being so charged to find that in between space. It's not about the vaccinating or not vaccinating. That's just the storyline. It's never about the storyline. It's about what that lesson is trying to teach us as human beings, being with one another. How do we find that middle ground of reverence for both our truth and the other person's truth? That is what we're being tested to understand. Not the can we win? This whole winning and losing thing it's so antiquated. So when people say I'm all about winning, I have to win. I'm like, please, it's so antiquated. Stop. You're going to be in your ego every time. I'm sorry if anybody I offend anybody by saying this, but really it's dated. Like let's move on. That's not, we're never going to get anywhere ever as human beings learning to go to a higher and better and more innovative and more expansive place on this planet. We will never do it through the winning losing model. We will never. We will always still stay stalemated and limited.
Correct. I you stated earlier that you can't you want a doctor who's trained. You don't want a doctor who's trained to come to you to do it, to do the operation, to cut you, and you go to school to learn. Your natural gift may also need honing, right? Your natural gift will also, you can see the difference between a gifted doctor and one who's who went in there for it. You can see the difference between the gifted coach and the one who's gifted but also went to school to improve, to increase. You can see the difference in the gifted one who went to school to learn about business and the one who just learned about business. There's just the difference. You know what, I'm going to go on record to show, to help people understand the difference. Yeah, I'm going to be bold and say that. I'm going to help
Yay,
you.
be
I'm going to help
bold. I
you,
like it. All right.
know the difference. The difference is in the bedside manners of the person, because the person is giving, is gifting their gift to you, even though you're paying for it, versus the person who's doing this for money. They are showing their prowess in what they understand and proving that, hey, I'm in this. The difference is when Traci, when you are when you're engaging your clients, you're not in there to knock your chest. You're not, you're in there to prove, to tick the more and more a path in the thicket and say, hey, I think this is how you're supposed to go. And there you go. You're helping. The prowess is not in I. It's in you. It's about you. It's about uplifting. And I think I hear you talking about the reverence. And that's what the reverence is. When somebody comes to me to tell me that do the vaccine or not, or somebody tells me that Michael Jordan is the best player ever, and I think it's LeBron James, and I say, oh, it's LeBron James or it's Michael Jordan, and I'm not going and choking the person, whereas LeBron and Michael are really good friends and they go and sit and eat. I think we talked this before. The spectators are the ones who, the fans are the ones fighting and choking, and the two guys who you're going against, so a UFC fight, two guy go and you're like, beat him. At the end, those two guys, man, let's have dinner tonight, man. And we're like, man, my man is better than you. Boop, boop. Come on, calm down. Calm down. Reverence. Why is that word coming back here again? Why is that word coming back here again? It came a couple shows ago.
It's one of my favorite words.
If
I came
we
here.
can,
It is such a message that resonates at such a deep
if
level within me.
yeah, if we can just respect, respect, Mr. Christian. I'm a Christian. I respect your view that you are a Buddhist. You are. I can't come and 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 take the Bible and knock it in your head, because if that's the way you will understand my God, my Jesus, and
Thank you.
you're not getting the
Thank
right view
you.
of him.
Thank you.
You're
Oh
not
my
getting the
God.
right
That was
view of him. If I have to come to you and soften your kidneys, your side with my 1-2 punch and say this is the way, and then I have to give you, before you take my food, you must rote say Jesus is Lord, Jesus is Lord. Then you get in your, the only thing you're doing is because you want my food. So what I'm coming at here is I'm not the one who's doing it. It's the Holy Spirit in me that enables me, that convicts you. I'm not the one convicting you. I should not be the one. And we can move this Christianity piece now and move it on to another. When you're having a conversation with someone and you would want to change their minds on the views, you don't beat them on the head. You give your truth. And I think Vinay said this. He said
Oh,
earlier,
Vinay?
yeah, Vinay. Is that your American way of saying that word, Vinay? Or is that the guy told you my name is Vinay? I'm just
Oh, he's
teasing.
a friend
So
of mine. Yeah, Vinay Raman.
I'm just teasing. It is funny. He says it is funny how everyone thinks logic is universal. Logic is only a personal truth. So
Mm.
if your personal truth resonates with Vinay or with Lenora, but they have a different view, but you give you prove it, and they go, you know what? I think you that's where we build a mastermind. Instead, and guess what? Vinay or Lenora and Wulwyn or Traci can see a variation of my truth and say, but hey, Wulwyn, Vinay, Lenora, what do you think about this piece that you said? And be like, oh, you know what? You're so right. All of a sudden, it becomes a better truth that we can take, both of us can take and improve upon and become better people.
That's it. That's it. And how many times have we said that with the Democrats and Republicans? If they can get together, they can come up with a solution for what we're all wanting and needing. When we can look
Yes.
at these,
Yes.
it's the third option is always both options put together with strategy, reverence, and logic. I mean, it's, we couple that together from both sides because again, a coin isn't made of one side. And when we try to exchange with a one-sided coin, it never works.
Mm,
Right. And you said two
mm.
things that really stood out for me. When we are being who we are, we don't have to prove anything. And I think that if we do find ourselves needing to prove, it's because there's something missing in our interconnection with self.
Ooh.
Because I'll tell you what, when I'm being who I am, I have absolutely no need to prove that to anybody. I'm simply being. So if we suddenly start to get, like I was talking about those flags, and when we start to realize we're focusing more on outside of ourselves and being limited, that's one of the things when I'm like, oh, I got to prove my point. Why am I doing that? What is this that's stimulating me? Because why? I mean, what's the point in proving anything? If that's my truth and that's what I can share my point, I can put my point forward, I can offer my point up for consideration, and to your point, someone can respond with their vantage point or their perspective, and then that adds to my point of view and all of that. So proving is an interesting word, so that stood out. But then when you were talking about, I loved what you were saying about, this is what we've always done
Mm.
religiously, in government, in every entity, that when we have something that we think is the right, we force it on people. Right. And what we're meant to do is inspire. Jesus didn't force his teachings. He
No.
inspired people with them, and people chose to follow or not. But anytime we come in and we take over, I mean, I'm really going to I'm going to really get bold and start getting, when it comes to especially religion over the years and how certain groups have gone into other countries and said, we're going to change your ways. You need to be how we feel you need to be. I mean, good Lord. I mean, how much bloodshed between the Catholics and Protestants?
Mm.
I mean, let's just look in history, folks. Winning, losing doesn't work. Doesn't work. It kills a lot of people and it creates a lot of devastation and a lot of hurt and a lot of limitation. So when are we going to learn? When are we going to learn that tactic just doesn't work? It's limited. And when you win, you also lose. So there's really no point, right? No point in proving. Sorry, I'm done.
Guess what? Traci, 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 when it gets Lenora, this thing is coming again. I'm gonna take it off you, Lenora, but I'm gonna keep on talking. Here's the deal,
What are
Traci.
you doing?
Here's the deal, Traci. Traci, you know when it will get, do you know when it's gonna get serious, Traci? You know when people will understand this? When someone does to you exactly what you're doing to them, that's when you feel what the person whom you have been tormenting, whom you have been putting down your throat, the person, when you feel how they feel.
Mhm.
ah,
A new man has
Lenora,
emerged.
good
He's
girl.
free.
I'm free. When the person, when the person feels, and then they go, I didn't know that's how it felt.
Yep.
I
That's
didn't know
yep.
that. Because, you know, you talk about religion, but let's talk about government. Let's talk about democracy. I'm from
Mhm.
Africa. I'm from Liberia. Democracy in Africa or in any country is not the democracy of America. And as we're seeing what the democracy of America is. So
I don't know if democracy
we,
really
we,
exists anymore
we,
anywhere. Let me just say
thank
that
you.
out loud.
Thank you. Thank you. So when you talk about we travel somewhere to go and make them have the way we perceive it to be. Do you know that Africans have a different mind, a different way of processing than than different cultures have different ways of processing due to what they've been through, right? I am this color because I stay in the sun. There's no winter. There's no fall. There's the tropics. It's hot there. It's hot 24/7. So because it's hot there 24/7, there's the natural thing. It creates this melanin that protects my skin. The reason why you're a different color is not because you're privileged or no, it's because that you were in an area where you really didn't need the melanin to hit you up like that. You really didn't need it. But all of a
Hmm.
sudden now the world comes and says, or somebody in their Jesus, I can't use that word, in their mind says, hey, I'm going to put a division here. It's all about dividing to conquer.
Yes.
It's always about dividing to conquer. And in the conquering, whomever does the conquering, the person who was above that person gives this conquering power, the ability, but they're still being used. You are still being used. The idea here is hmm, hmm, if if we can speak our truth, if we can speak, if I can speak my heart and you can speak your heart, and I say, and I want to manipulate you now. That's the word. That's the word. That's the thing. Manipulation. I want to manipulate to get an upper hand to take the resources that you have, because that's when you talked about that, you talk about the democracy. When you talk about Africa now, I'm just seeing the manipulation of certain individuals to extract the natural resources, leave the place in chaos, extract the natural resources. And once we extract it all, then you guys, well, y'all fix it. And then we go, and you can see that happening all around the world with the superpower going in, causing, uh, you show a hand and it's not really the hand. The real hand is on the other side doing what it wants to do. It's called, what is it called?
It's
It's,
called puppeteering,
yeah, but it's
I mean,
called
because if you
something.
think about a puppeteer, you don't see the hand. You see what the hand is allowing you to see, what the hand
Oh dear.
wants the puppet to do,
Oh dear.
but you don't see the hand.
That's why, and I'll close with this for you to come in, sis. That's why it is so important for us to speak and live our truth and not let the world define. It's coming back to what we were talking about. Oh, the Myers-Briggs told me that I am smart. I am ISTJ, I am MPTT. Come on. Once you can execute who you are, that's who you are. And who you are, the world, there's a gap waiting. Even there's 8 billion people. If all of us can fit in our places, the world becomes a better place. But once I say, I want to fit Tracy's, I want to do Lenora's, I want to do Vene's, I want to, nah, all of a sudden now you're messing it up because you came here for a purpose. Do complete your purpose and get off the stage.
Yes.
Ah,
Well, and any assessment test,
uh,
it puts things in time and place based on what we've experienced, which is limited. So, it's a dot on a chart. And that is only based on what? What are we measuring? Well, we can only measure what we know.
mm,
And so it's limited because there is gazillions of things we don't know. But guess where we can access the unlimited gazillions of things we don't know? In here. We will never reach it out here, ever. It's all coming from in here. The universe is within us and around us, yes, but if we're looking for it in what we know, we're not going to find it. It's like trying to create a different way with the same mindset. What do they say? Insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over again, thinking you're going to get a different outcome.
yes.
Right? When we try to define our unlimited selves in a limited way, we are going to be limited.
Ay, 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 ay.
Right? And so, yes, that dot on the map might define you in limited terms based on what you know, but we don't know what we don't know. So meditation and going inward, anything that allows us to develop an understanding, and you and I both talk about this, I believe going in is going up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I believe that's where I access my God.
Mm-hmm.
Right? My understanding of who God is
Mm-hmm.
not by going out in the world,
Mm-hmm.
not by listening to other people's interpretation of the Bible or what should be done, or it's going in and accessing that through my own channels.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I have buy-in. That's how I have belief. That's how I can stand up and feel confident within that buy-in and belief.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not by following what other people are telling me to believe.
Can I jump?
Especially when it doesn't come from in an inspired manner.
Can I come in for a quick second with that?
Yes.
There's a piece, and for somebody who may be listening saying, wow, and if you're of a different religion, I'm not gonna say sorry that we're talking about the Bible, right? This is eavesdrop. You hearing she and I talk, but trust me, it's gonna go somewhere nice because you can apply it to yourself. In the Bible, it talks about you're drinking milk, but I'd rather you eat meat, right? And then my pastor did this nice comparison the other day. He said, what's milk? Milk is mom ate the steak, she ate the beans, she ate the heavy food, she ate it, and you lashed on and you got the milk. I rather you eat meat. I rather you eat your own steak, eat your own beans, eat your own, and process the fullness of the nutrients that comes directly so that you don't use the secondhand processing of the milk. Which what Traci explained here is where we go inside, you are processing your own steak. But we're so lazy in this fast food environment where we want someone to give their interpretation of it. And then when it's wrong and it goes to Ari and we say, oh, you did it. You were the one who messed me up. No. You were the one who messed yourself up because you didn't have the time to go open it, read it for yourself, go inward so that God can explain to you what it is by the power of the Holy Spirit so that you can come out and execute who you are in this world to become. So I go back to you. That was a little thing I wanted to say. You can.
Ooh, if I could drop this thing, I would.
Girl, let's drop it.
That was brilliant. I love that analogy of the milk and the meat. I love that. Yes, and yes. That's exactly what we're talking about here. And the way, one of the things I was also talking about with this particular client that I was talking about earlier is intrinsic motivation, because he was sharing that he realized in his assessment that was taken. He's like, oh, my assessment told me that I am a person that needs pressure to motivate me. So that's why I procrastinate. I said, okay, again, the assessment tool is based on limiting factors, right? It can only measure what we know. And so that's what you felt was available to you. So you have learned to believe, even the assessment tool is testing based on the limited options that we know are available to us. So, this procrastination, people know, it's kind of like when I eat sugar, I know I'm going to get a sugar high. When I drink alcohol, I know I'm going to get all woozy. When I create lots of drama in my life, I know it's going to create the squeeze that maybe motivates me. I know this because I've practiced it. So I keep going back to the thing that will give me the feeling or the tool that is going to, push me to what I really want to be doing. But I said, what if you weren't reliant on outside stuff? What if you were intrinsically motivated? What if all that assessment told me is not that you need to be stimulated through procrastination and pressure to finally grow or do something. All that's telling me is you have used that as the tool, as that extrinsic motivator all these years. What if you could shift that to your bigger why? What if you could tap into your mission that you came with, that you were born with? And then suddenly that became your motivator. You didn't need this limited tool of procrastination. It's to me, it's a surrogate, right? When I can't get the feeling of love because I have nobody special in my life, I eat chocolate. That's the surrogate. It gives me the same chemicals in my brain that love would, because I can't access, I tell myself this, right? I'm using this as an analogy. I tell myself I can't access love. So what will give me that same feeling? That's what procrastination is doing for people. So if anybody thinks, I need to well, that's one way of doing it. But is it the only way? And is it even the healthiest way? Wow. It's just the way you know, because you've practiced it over and over and over again. So, that's the thing is that when we use limited resources, we'll get a limited number of options to choose from. But when we go inside, we will potentially discover things we have never even considered before. We've never done. And you know what, Wulwyn? I've lived my whole life in that space. I feel like my whole life I've been saying things that were another language to most people. In this space of what's possible. And it's, no, that's not possible. Shut up, get in the corner. No, you're wrong. Stop pushing that. No, you're causing problems. No. And I am finally getting bold enough to say, yes, you can come along. You don't have to. Wow. I'm trying to inspire you with my passion. I'm not trying to puppet you or demean you or challenge you in a negative way. Yeah. I'm trying to say, if you're feeling any of the stuff that I'm saying, there's reason for that. You've been living a limited life in a limiting world. And there's ways to start to branch out into another space if you choose.
Traci, you're saying this, and I after I say this, we have to now, when the chat and the commenting is this live, we got to go in. I'm going to come and read a couple of those that were said. Before I do that, because you guys make the show because you come to listen. Over the past 3, 4, 5 days, the only thing that has hit me was, I have the mind of Christ. 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 What does that mean? It means that I'm unstoppable. And here you are talking about this stuff, and I'm going, how in the world this woman understands what's going on in my life now? Because what it gives me, it fuels me that there is no situation I'm going to get in that I will not be able to get out of, because that's one of the biggest things that we find ourselves. Will I be able to perform? Will I be? And we want to depend on what we know. And no, it's not what you know. It's there's a different level. There's a spiritual level on this physical that we need to access, and that enables us to walk this physical life. But that's a different topic for a different time, and it's going to take quite a while. So Here goes. I'm gonna go through these lightning swords. Traci, I can give this back to you. Lenora earlier said it's imperative to recognize the red flags and address them, not ignore them. I think you were speaking. And she teasingly says, I learned a new word that was the inner gadgetry. And Lenora said, Vineg wants to say it's time to listen to our own voice as to what we are versus what everyone else says we are. It's funny how everyone thinks logic is universal. Logic is only a personal truth. Vineg goes on, and strangely, this occurred when you were talking about being, and he said it exactly at the same time. Kids live in a world of good and bad, binary. It's one or the other. Adults live in continuums of being. I try to stop thinking of good and bad, rather gooder and badder. Um, Lenora goes, joining forces and using common sense and logic is powerful. Lenora, Jesus inspired through his words and actions, they matched.
Yeah, he was congruent. Yeah.
Correct. Lenora goes, we need a commercial. I think that was when the bra.
Commercial break.
Speak and live our truths and stop allowing the world to define it. Vinay goes, if you are asking me for the path to where I'm going, my response will be, when I get there, I can tell you. But asking how to get to where I'm going, no one else can figure that out. That's my unique job. And then I'm gonna go down. There are a couple. Lenora goes, it all starts with the mindset. Renew your mind and eradicate that stinking thinking and embrace newness and positive transformation. And lastly, Vinay goes, I heard I heard a great quote this AM. A roof is a man-made thing.
Yes. Oh, thank you both, Lenora, and well, thank you all. I mean, I don't know, there's could be people out there who are listening and they're
Yeah,
just
Carl.
not.
Carl is on. He said that's real. I mean, I'm not overlooking what people, just the long ones and pieces on
But
there. But
I love that, Lenora, my girl. You and I are on the same wavelength. I just posted an article that I wrote about mindset today on LinkedIn. So she and I are like right there in the same mindset. This really makes me happy. As people who know me, and obviously I've spoken to you before, I work with visionaries, and visionaries are the ones that are bringing in what's next. This was part of our plan, part of our purpose, part of our mission, is to bring in what's next, what the world needs next. We are the harbingers, we are the messengers, we are the deliverers, and we've had to swim upstream a long time, depending on our experiences, in order to do that, to keep that flame lit and to keep our truths live within us, even when we're being told or shown from the outside world limited things that might even limit what we believe we're bringing. And I said to someone in a couple days ago who I just met, he said, what do you love most about working with visionaries? I said, there is nothing more beautiful than a visionary potentiated. Because a visionary potentiated, a visionary already is unlimited. And when they stop limiting themselves in the conditioned world they live in, it's like watching a racehorse that knows its lane and all it has to do is run.
yes.
And it is sleek and it is beautiful. And it is like watching a baby born and the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen. And, the face of your loved ones. I mean, it is gorgeous. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to help create an environment in place where people realize that their true potentiation, their true empowerment lies within them. It's within them. We keep searching in the relationships, in the money, in the power, in the things, to your point, that we can manipulate and prove. I mean, how many times have people put on well, science proves this? I'm like, nothing proves anything. All it shows us is certain limited options. But if we think that we know all the answers, we know what this is going to do over time, we're sorely wrong. Sorely. So let's stop focusing on what we can prove about the now or the future and focus more on trying to own what is within us and to be more curious and humble in the way in which we approach things that I don't know mind, that you and I have talked about numerous times on this. right? Is that when we can realize we don't know and be comfortable in the state of, I don't know, but I'm open
Yes.
to knowing.
Yes.
And there, I will always be at a state where I don't know.
Yes.
And when I can focus more on what I don't know than what I do know and what other people must know, and if they don't know this, they're wrong, then I am going to be open to so many more options. I will be so much more limitless. I will be so much more expansive. And with all of that, I offer so much more value.
Correct.
Yeah.
Carl Albert Brooks said, "Be true to yourself, my God-given purpose." And I have to say this in closing. It's what I told you earlier before we got on this call. We're asking, "How are you? How are you?" And I said, I feel like we are about to boom, just blow up. And the reason, oh my goodness, okay, I want to say that one. I'm going to say this other one before I say this one. And we came here kind of late. We came here 2 minutes in, so we can go to 202, right?
Right.
uh, I was meditating a couple years ago, and God said, you know that the energy you guys possess is most strong. It's stronger than nuclear energy. The power you possess in you is stronger than nuclear. What you have in you. But you see, you can only mine that energy when you look in yourself and not look out in the world to define who you are. Because every single time you attempt that, you're going to try to create Carl Owens or Albert Einstein. What happens when the guy broke the 7 minute mile or 8 minute mile?
4 minute mile. Yeah.
4 minute mile. Thank you. How many other people came to break it? You see, God is waiting for you to break something, but you keep looking at the other person because the other person is limiting you, but you have nuclear energy in you waiting to be. Only when you can get up, quit procrastinating, spend time with yourself, which sometimes we don't want to do because we don't want to see that person. Because in order to mine this nuclear thing, you need to clean this thing. You need to clean it up first. And the process of cleaning up is what we shy away from. So we keep looking outside. But when you look in the mirror and see yourself for who you are, you see your limiting self. You have to recognize that in order to become unlimited, so that then you can now go and start looking and mining the nuclear aspect. That's when the boom happens. The boom happens when you know that you're nuclear. You're DEFCON, I don't know what, and you're ready to just blow up this world with what God has placed in you to do. So,
So may I title this show
go ahead.
The Nuclear Self?
Aye, aye, aye. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been such an honor. Didn't we say that something was going to go boom in this?
You did. You said something's going to go boom.
And then you
and then we started dancing to boom, 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 boom. Yeah. We did.
I got the rock and roll, that super flow, next level digital. What you said? The nuclear what? Your nuclear.
Sorry, I'm over here dancing. The Nuclear Self.
The nuclear self.
Absolutely. 100%.
Close us up, sis. Close us up. Close us up. Close us up.
I mean, again, if I could drop this, I would. I mean, there's really nothing more to say. I think we've planted another pretty nuclear seed, and hopefully it hits at a core that people have been feeling. I have a feeling it does. I have a feeling that what we talked about today really hit a chord and a place that people have been almost dying to open. Right. And so I think as we continue to unpack this can of worms over time, people will feel more comfortable coming to a space where they can start to unpack it in themselves, talk about what they're finding,
yes,
feel confident in their voice, right? And in what they're finding when they look in.
we love, and we really mean this, LOVEU. We truly, truly love you guys for coming on here.
Mhm.
Traci, love you. I love
Love you, my
myself.
friend.
I we truly appreciate it. You just don't know. This started as an idea, and it's steamrolled into this. And our plan, I don't know why I'm saying this, but I feel I need to say this to these visionaries, these people here who hear it and would 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 say we agree, because it happens with agreement. Our plan is a couple months from now is to get two rare chairs, two microphones, and sit in an auditorium and just do this, just talk. And after we talk for a couple minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, then we allow you to ask questions and just or share. It's it's I can see it, Traci. I can see it. Like we have seen it. We have seen it. And we truly want you guys to see it. And it's not just a Raleigh, North Carolina thing. It's going to be a national and an international thing. Mm.
We're going to move our chairs around the nation and live stream. So if you can't join us in person, you can always continue to join us in other ways.
Boom, boom,
Boom,
boom.
boom.